Today, we're going to do the best case Senate scenario for the Republicans. Yesterday it was the Dems. Today, it's the GOP. It looks like it's going to be an uphill blue leaning environment already for the Republicans. But this is going to assume things level out. Republican enthusiasm starts to go up as we get closer to Election Day. Maybe Dems run some bad races. Trump's approval comes up at least a few points, etc. So I'll start filling in the obvious safe states. Again, these would be over a 10% margin or not competitive. And again, this is not going to be anything too crazy. Anybody could come up with an extreme hypothetical. But this is about a 5% bounce here for the Republicans. Most of these states would be safe in a regular environment. But in this, Nebraska is going to go up to safe. It's the same thing in Florida and even some borderline states like South Carolina. They're going to easily be over 10. Now, on the other side for the Dems, there's not a whole lot Republicans can do even in this environment. These states are just really blue, even in an absolute monster red wave. Not many of these would budge beyond what they're at. So after we've got all that out of the way, we'll go down to the likely states. These would be between a 5 and a 10% margin or a semi-competitive. I want to start with the Dems here. I've got one state to talk about. That's New Mexico. Now, this had previously been at safe, but I took it down to likely. Republicans didn't even put up a candidate, but the write-in was able to make the general election ballot. I don't expect him to do much. His name ID is going to be really low, so it's borderline safe still even in this environment. But it's New Mexico. It's not Massachusetts. If the GOP candidate there has a nice night, I'm going to say this could just barely get down under 10%. So that's why that goes likely. Now for the Republicans. Let's start in Alaska. Who knows what's really going to happen here, but the bottom line is Republicans in this environment would hold this seat, and it's going to be by over 5%. So Dan Sullivan going to get it likely. In Texas, this would be Ken Paxton defeating James Tallarico. It's going to be by more than 5, but it's not going to be up to 10. In Iowa, Ashley Hinson would defeat Josh Turek by over 5, but not quite 10%. In Ohio, John Husted would take down Sherrod Brown here. It's going to be mid-single digits, 5 to 6, maybe up to 7%, but it's closer to going leans than it is to safe. Now we'll go down to the competitive states. Lean are under 5%, tilt are 1% or less. We've got 6 states to go. We'll start west and work our way east. We've got Minnesota up first. In this open seat, the matchup right now looks like it's going to be Peggy Flanagan for the Dems against Michelle Tafoya for the Republicans. If Harris were in the White House, there's a chance Republicans could actually flip this seat. In this environment, I think it would get competitive, but Dems are still going to hold on here. They're going to get it with a late rating. In nearby Michigan, in this matchup, we'll assume it's going to be Abdul El Sayed for the Dems. He's going to be a little weaker in the general. Mike Rogers would run a smooth campaign, and he would win it by 2 or 3 points, and Republicans would actually flip and pick this seat up. In the northeast corner, Maine. Here, Susan Collins would hold on by mid-single digits, not quite 5%, probably about 4 or 4.5 over Graham Plattner, just because the polls completely underestimated Collins in 20. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen again, but in a solid GOP night, of course, I think Collins would win. In New Hampshire, I'm keeping my rating the same. I think Chris Pappas would still defeat John Sununu, and he's going to get it with a tilt rating. Could Sununu possibly win in this scenario? Yeah, but I think it's just a little bit more unlikely that he pulls it out, but we'll see what happens. Then we've got North Carolina and Georgia. Dems have good candidates here running in a favorable environment. I can't say the same for the Republicans, but considering this is a best-case GOP scenario, I'm still going to say Republicans will be able to eke out a victory here, but I'm taking both of these ratings from lean Republican down to tilt Republican. I think even in this environment, I think these seats are close to becoming completely gone for the Republicans. So those are both going to be tilts, and that's the map. We've got 45 seats for the Dems, 55 for the Republicans. Republicans would pick up Michigan and North Carolina. They would hang out at Georgia and Maine, and they've got breathing room in Alaska, Texas, Iowa, and Ohio. I think Minnesota and New Hampshire are still just a bit out of reach here in this scenario. But if Republicans actually came out with 55, 54, even 53 seats at this point, I think they would view that as a pretty good night. In a few months, this map could look a little bit bluer. It could even end up looking a little redder. So much could happen between now and then. We'll find out how it goes, but for now, let me know in the comments. In your best case GOP scenario, do they actually hang out in North Carolina and Georgia, or do you think they're out of reach? Do you think Maine and Texas would be even redder? What about Minnesota? What about Michigan? Let me know what you think down below on your way out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Join if you'd like to support the channel. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.